Yes, everybody, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of the United People's Podcast. It's me, it's Dan, it's Nick. We're here after the 2-2 draw away at Sean Dyche's Forest. Their first Premier League game, United 1-0 up, going to be fair, the first half was still tough anyway. We'll run through the game. We'll speak about Ruben Amorim's post-match comments on, I suppose, the fact that, as far as he's concerned, he's seeing a new United. We'll speak about Dan's trip to the City ground, run through the game. Lads, how you doing? Dan, you had a busy weekend.
Very, very busy. So on Friday, I was out until the early morning for Halloween, dressed as Mario. So that was very
Obviously.
good. So yeah, obviously. And then I had to get up at the nice morning time of 7 a.m. to go to Old Trafford to get on the coach that the club supplied, which is really good. There was about 50 of us who made it the way down to Nottingham. That was really, really good. Got to Nottingham, had a little walk around. And do you know what? There's a lot around Nottingham. I've never been to Nottingham before. Have either of you guys?
No.
Nah, I've not been.
No. So when we arrived there at the City ground, we looked on our maps what was around, and we saw that there was Trent Bridge, which is obviously the cricket ground, I think, and then Notts County, which isn't too far away. So we had a little wander around there, and then went into the away end.
Causing a ruckus, I
good.
bet. Causing a ruckus.
Of course. No Hooters, though. No Hooters.
Yeah. That's not what you said before the pod, mate.
I did say it to
No
a mate who went down
Hooters.
with. And he was like, oh, there's a Hooters, is there? I was like, no, I'm not going to this after what we discussed in the podcast.
Look, how was the away end?
Unbelievable. I'll tell you what, Forest, if you ever get a ticket for Forest away, definitely go, because half of it's safe standing, half of it's normal seating. And I mean, when that last goal went in by Ahmad, it was unbelievable. But you're right next to the home fans on either side, really, giving them banter. They can give some and they can take it as well. That's what I quite liked about Forest's fans. They could take it and give it.
Right, the game itself then, at least you had a good trip. I think that's kind of my match reaction. But the first half, I'll be honest, Nick, I didn't expect Forest to be as on the front foot, I suppose, as they were. I expected them to be a bit more passive. We'll speak about Elliot Anderson a little bit later in the pod, because he was class. He basically ran the show for them in midfield. But we got a goal. And we spoke about set pieces, right? We got 2 goals from set pieces in that game, and only Arsenal have scored more set pieces than us this season now. And we've scored nearly 50% of our goals in the league so far from set pieces, which I actually didn't realise. So to go in 1-0 up at half-time, Nick, I thought was, I'll be honest, a pretty good result, given that we were on the back foot for a fair amount of that first half.
Yeah, it was one of those where, you kind of do go into half-time thinking, all right, I'll take it. Because I didn't think we were too... It was a bit hit and miss that first half. I don't think we were overly good. We created a few chances. Ahmad had a few chances, a few pop shots off the right. There was the one moment where the ball went over the top of Murillo. Murillo missed it. Sesko wasn't quite expecting him to miss it. That was a little chance as well. So at 1-0, you take it. And like you said there about the set pieces, to be fair, I didn't know it was that high of a percentage either. So that's good to hear. Obviously, the Ahmad one counts as a set piece goal, but really it was just an unreal volley from Ahmad. So kind of set piece, not really set piece. But yeah, no, like you said, it was Dyche. It wasn't Dyche. It wasn't properly like, do you know what I mean? So no, they were on the front foot. There was a few nice combination plays in their midfield, and I think we struggled there actually a little bit. That midfield battle, you referenced Elliot Anderson there. I think he had a lot of joy there because he had time and space to be able to do what he wants to do. So the midfield battle, I felt like we lost there a little bit. But like you say, going into the first half, it felt good. We're feeling all right.
More importantly, though, did either of you two follow my bet and put a fiver on Casemiro to score a header? Because I swear I said that in the pod.
I didn't.
No, I didn't. No.
I did.
Did you
actually? 16-1. Come on, I'm being serious.
Wow.
No way.
Anyway,
Fair play.
right,
Fair play.
half-time comes around. Half-time comes around. And fuck knows what Sean Dyche did in that dressing room at half-time. Well, he probably just blew his lid, Sean Dyche, I reckon he gives a pretty good hairdryer. It's trying to, the veins want to escape out of his neck when he's on the sidelines. Anyway, they came out at half-time, and it's just like, Dan, we've seen this before. I can't be asked to do the research, if I'm being completely honest. I probably should. But it feels that there's a lot of times where this sort of thing has happened over the last few years. conceding goals in the first 5 to 10 minutes of halves, whether it's first half or second half. But just to capitulate in the way that we did. To be fair, the first goal was pretty fucking good. Good pass from Anderson, cross in, mismatch at the back post. That's the... I called it like you saw the best and the worst of playing Ahmad at right wing back in that Forest game. Worse because he can't really do anything against Morgan Gibbs White because he's bloody massive by comparison. He just held him off. And then the best because he scored that goal and then he's on the pitch. But that second goal, we've spoken about second balls, we've spoken about anticipation. Dan, have you watched the replays back of that second goal? Because I really want to go in on Delo for that because he was so flat-footed. There was no... Mate, you're in your own 6-yard box. You're a defender. You're facing a corner. What else are you going to do apart from anticipate that the second ball might drop near you? That's surely like the only thing you need to be anticipating.
Well, see, Delo is he is definitely one of the major people at fault or players at fault for that goal. But I've also got something to say about the three, De Ligt and Yoro and Casemiro, who all went up for the header and didn't win it, and there was no communication, and then it fell to Savona. And Delo needs to be getting there, and he needs to be stopping that from going in. But I did want to highlight that quickly. We've seen this from United before, though it's a recurring theme coming back and conceding 2 goals very, very quickly. And I've got in my notes here that we were a bit passive. We weren't a bit passive, we were passive. Especially for that 5 minutes. If the ball got spread out to the wings by Forest and they were whipping the balls in, we just didn't get out to them. The players almost just fell asleep and just didn't realise that if we didn't close them down, they're going to put it into the box and probably score. And that's what happened. It's just the basics. And I don't know how the players forgot about that and then decided to turn up and try and control play for the last 10 minutes of the game.
It was just infuriating, man, because Forest are going to come out like flying because they're 1-0 down at home against Sean Dyche. It's Sean Dyche's first. I can't be asked. I'm going to stop saying Sean Dyche's name now because fuck it. It's just Forest, right? It's just Forest we played. Who cares? But there are negatives from that game, and we've just spoken about the most glaringly obvious one there, Nick. But I think Ruben Amorim spoke about it after the match, and I actually think the result at Anfield is also quite a reflection of this too. Last season, you wouldn't have seen United concede an equaliser in front of the Kop in like the 77th minute and then go on to win the game. Obviously, we haven't won there in 10 years. United last season, going 2-1 down to Forest after 5 minutes, heads gone. They would have probably capitulated last season. They probably would have finished 3-1, maybe 4-1 to Forest. But we got the equaliser. If Murillo wasn't on the line, we probably would have turned it around to be 3-2. Is there a positive you can take from that, Nick?
Absolutely. You're spot on. I do think heads would have dropped a lot harder last season. And I think we very well could have struggled to have equalised and gone out there with a point. It's frustrating because... You're 1 up and it's 5 minutes of madness. Not even 5 minutes, less than that of madness, where it's just a loss of concentration. So that's frustrating. But the way we did respond was good. And actually, I thought that once we got the equaliser, we looked the more likely to go on and actually win it, which was nice. But it does... I'd like to think that it speaks of the morale in the dressing room and the way players are feeling that we can actually bounce back now. And actually, I think it's a little bit of... what Cunha brings, what Mbomo brings in terms of taking that responsibility on their shoulders and going, right, all right, cool. It's a lapse concentration. We're down 1, but let's pick it back up and go again. So that's nice. And like you say, at Anfield as well, that was a big one. And Gary Neville, funnily enough, said it on commentary. Do you remember? He said, I fancy United to go on and get another one. And we actually did. So that side of it is definitely nice. And it's also, again, it goes back to what Amorim talked about in terms of Ahmad, because we are a team that, I think when we're pressed in, we struggle. When we're on the ball and when we're going forward, we can do well, and that's what we saw. But what Dan referred to earlier as well is really important. I just wish that we had stopped the crosses coming in at the source, because they were getting in with too much consistency. But the way we bounced back was nice. It's good to see.
What did you make, Dan, of I would say that's probably the first game where, first game in a few games anyway, where Cunha and Mbeumo and Šeško, we struggle from open play to really create much. I think our biggest, obviously we scored from one direct corner and the Ahmad equaliser, which was unfucking believable, by the way. that came off the back of another set piece. Other than that, United really did kind of struggle to create from open play. There were some chances, like Šeško had his quick pop shot, I think, in the first half. Cunha on the edge of the box. Forest were obviously going to be good at defending their own box. But I don't think there's anything too concerning. It's just a little bit frustrating, I suppose. Is that the best way to describe it?
That yeah, I'd probably say frustration as well. And I could see that with Cunha and Mbeumo especially. They seem to get the ball in the channels, and I felt sorry for Mbeumo because Murillo kept coming across and just hammering every single time. He didn't let him have 1 second on the ball. It's great defending, and Forest did set up well. But for me, Cunha's got to be doing better in that game, because the amount of times he received the ball in the left channel and then had the option to drive, especially towards the end as well when we could have won, to drive into that left channel and just take a better shot or take a shot rather than looking to square it. For me, it was a little bit frustrating to see that happen, but I know he's getting used to it, and this was a different style of game that we've been used to and he's been used to playing.
The fact that we've got 10 from our last 12, I can't really be too massively critical. And I don't know whether that's just me being kind and stuff like that. If I'm Ruben Amorim on Monday, I'm going in and I'm going to be focusing on that 5 minutes, saying, lads, what happened? We literally just had a conversation for 15 minutes in the dressing room. You knew what the game plan was. How on earth did you go out there and then just forget where you were? What happened there? That's got to be down to the leaders on the pitch, making sure that everybody is, I suppose, to an extent, it's kind of down to the individuals. But I want to go back to it and speak about Diogo Dalot, but more importantly, the left wing-back position, because I think if we're being honest, would you say that's the biggest weakness we've got in the team right now, Nick?
I still think there's problems in the midfield, but in terms of one sole position, yes. And it's a little bit frustrating. I don't think Dorgu has quite worked. I'm reluctant to say that it's not going to work with Dorgu, but there is just a side of me that's a little bit worried about how high his technical level can get to. Because if you're a wing back in this particular system, you need to be really good creatively. You need to whip them crosses in. You need a few nice combination plays with that inside left number 10. And I'm not sure that Dorgu has the quality to do that at the very top in the Premier League. I still think he's very capable. I think physically he's very good. He's got a brilliant pace, but I just wonder creatively, you're looking for someone like what DeMarco does for Inter Milan, for example. Does it really, really well. On the ball, technically very good. Even a Luke Shaw in his prime, which, Sam, I know you're probably screw-facing me bringing up Luke Shaw, but Luke Shaw, 3-4 years ago, when he was kind of at it, when he played under Ole, even someone like him with a technical ability to put balls in, that'd be really good. But yeah, Dorgu, I'm a little unsure about. Dalot is just not a left wing back. That's just long term. That's never going to work.
You mentioned it there, right? I've actually got it written down to have a conversation about Shaw, because Martinez is now back in full training. Is there a possibility, Dan, you think, that if Martinez, obviously this is the big bloody if, that there is no answer to this currently. If Martinez can return from his injuries and he can play once a week, do you think there's a chance that we see Luke Shaw at left wing back?
I doubt it, just because I know Amorim really likes is either side of the main centre half, so either side of De Ligt. He likes both of those centre halves to drive with the ball and get into attacking areas and give it to the midfield and possibly delve into the midfield, like we saw with Yoro, especially on Saturday. So I think if he put Shaw out at left wing back, he'd have a little bit more going forwards down that side, but I think the recovery pace might hinder him a little bit.
If it's a game where you're going to expect to sort of hold 60 to 65% possession, maybe against a Burnley, a Wolves, a relegation sort of battle side, and maybe you can get away with it. But yeah, in terms of tracking back, Luke Shaw doesn't have it in him. And also, sometimes it feels like he's one big sprint away from another muscle tear or muscle injury. So that's also another side of it.
It just feels like such a clear weakness that we've got. Like Dalot's starting and then he's coming off, and then Dorgu's on, and he might have a little bit more going forward, but still not technically quite sound. And you know what it does hurt when you see Alvaro. Do you see that goal he scored for Madrid?
Yeah.
Man, that was one of when a ball's hit so clean that it doesn't spin. It looks like it's not moving. But rifled, if you missed it, he rifled it right from the edge of the 18-yard box, top left, banged it right into the top right side netting finish. Unbelievable goal.
Do you reckon Alvaro would do what he's doing at the moment at Real Madrid in the Premier League for United?
I think he probably would.
He'd do better than Dallo, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what, as well? I do feel for Dallo sometimes. I've said this before, right? Because I think there was a time where he was really good, and there is a place for him, but it's just he's not. I don't think he's not at that level. But yeah, Alvaro Correa is a frustrating one, especially when you consider that at the time with Ten Hag, it was like Luke Shaw was out, so he brought in Reguilon on loan. It was only a 6-month loan. Malacia was supposed to come back, didn't. So it was almost like, why didn't you just give him a chance?
Pretty sure Amrabat played left back, and so did Lindelof as well.
Yes, you are correct, Tom. They both did.
It's a frustrating one, I suppose, but Amorim's going to have to try and figure out a solution. And I think the current options that he's been trying, be that Delo, be that Dorgu. I mean, what else could he try? Like, give me some hypotheticals. Like, what other left wing back options do we have inside this squad? Maybe down to the youth. You can go there if you want to, but I don't really know what else apart from this Martinez Shaw conversation.
Maybe a Mazraoui. Do you do that? I don't like in the same way you play Delo so that Delo can receive it and turn inside. Mazraoui could theoretically do the same thing. It's not ideal though. It's not, because his athleticism isn't there, and you need a bit of and Dallo does have a bit more pace. He's a bit stronger than Mazraoui, so it's not ideal. One question I do have is in general is, if we do sign a replacement left wing back, does he want that left wing back to be left footed or right footed? Do you know what I mean? So does he want a Dorgu or does he want an Ahmad who's on the other side?
I'm pretty sure that he wants the left wing back to be left footed to go on the outside, and the right wing back to also be left footed so that he can cut inside. I think he wants them both to be left footed. I think that's what he had at Sporting anyway. I don't know what that means. He's loyal to both being left footed, but it's kind of just my impression of it so far.
Yeah, on the front three as well. I thought it was interesting because I thought to myself that I kind of wish that would have liked to seen some changes in the front three, because he kept them on basically the full 90, right? But then I also think we don't really have a lot of options to freshen things up, do we?
No, like people. He was asked about the subs, wasn't he? But and like every single time he does change one of the wide centre backs, and he does change a wing back, because they're quite physically demanding positions in the Amorim system. They're the ones that probably go up and down the most. And who else are you going to bring on the bench to change the attack? Well, you're going to bring Xerxes on? Yeah, I mean, even he might change it, but he probably won't. I don't know who else we've got on the bench.
I heard shouts for Mount to come on in the away
Mount,
end.
yeah.
But then if you take, say, Casemiro off and you go full out attack, then we probably concede another goal.
I mean, maybe for Sesko, Mount for Sesko, and then Cunha in the 9, Mount. But again, it's like when you want someone to come and win the game, as much as I like Mount for a lot of his attributes, it doesn't, you know what I mean? You're not expecting him to come on and win you the game.
Yeah, it's something that I was predicting, and obviously got it spectacularly wrong. Like, why didn't we try and put the ball in the box more? Was it because we didn't want to? Well, we didn't think that we could compete with the duels with Murillo and Milenkovic, because they were they weren't their best players. Elliot Anderson was, but I thought that we were going to swing in a lot more. There was one where Mbumo swung it to the back post, and I saw Šeško. I was like, yeah, bastard. Just got nicked off his head. But I expected us to do it, and we didn't do it. And as I said, we struggled from open play. So even more so surprised, Dan, as the game was going around, that we weren't just getting it wide and just trying to knock some in the box. I don't know whether I'm looking into that too much.
I think it was down to Milenkovic and Murillo just being so good. I think that chance that you were on about there with Mbumo putting it into Šeško, they might have thought, let's try this and see what happens. And Šeško was sort of near it, but Milenkovic was way above getting to that ball. And maybe down to creative options as well. Every single time they got the ball, someone was going to come and tackle or go straight through them. So they were always constantly laying it off to whether that was a wing-back, Casemiro or Bruno, to try and drive the ball up as well so that they can get into other attacking positions. So I think that might have had a part to play in it, really.
Right. The question, I think this definitely deserves a 5-minute convo. Like, if Carlos Baleba's performance against United Old Trafford was his audition, Nick, was that Elliot Anderson's audition?
He was brilliant. He was honestly brilliant. I had a look on. I was looking at the stats after the game. Bruno Fernandes put 14 passes into the final third. The only person who beat him on that stat was Elliot Anderson. He was really pulling the strings for Nottingham Forest in that midfield. He put 15 balls into the final third for Nottingham Forest. So there was, yeah, it was just. I mean, none of us were really surprised. Sam, you even said it on the last podcast where you said I expect Anderson to have a good game, and he did. I mentioned earlier that I thought we did lose the midfield battle in this one, and that was predominantly down to Elliot Anderson's brilliance. What he's got as well is that ability to receive the ball, have a man on his back, but still be able to turn him because he's sturdy, he's strong enough. Um, he's he's the kind of player who a little bit jack of all trades. You know, I wouldn't say he's phenomenal in one attribute, but he's not got a weak spot in his game. He can do it all. He's an all round midfielder. He can do everything. So yeah, he passed the audition. It's just the price. That's the problem for me right now.
You called him all round. I was going to say all action. I think that's exactly what I saw. That's exactly what I expected as well, having looked into him in the last couple of weeks. I mean, that's probably bumped his price up a little bit, Dan, I'm guessing. Obviously, after a game, like, you're going to be like, oh, he's the midfielder we should all go and sign, blah, 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 because he was man of the match, so it's a little bit like a recency bias and stuff. I'll be interested to see what happens when we play Crystal Palace, for example. That performance you saw from Elliot Anderson, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to Adam Wharton, but you won't see that from Adam Wharton because he's not as physically involved in the game like that. That's just not that part of his game, in the same way that Carlos Baleba wouldn't be the person that's like pinging perfect 30, 40-yard balls and passing the ball into the opposition's final third 15 times. But he'll be the progressive driver and bringing the ball away from his own box. On paper, if we're looking for... Because I think that's what we're looking for, really, Dan. I don't know whether this will be the case, but in my mind, we're looking for the perfect partner for Kobbie Mainoo. Next season, that should be United's midfield. Kobbie plus who? Maybe Elliot Anderson. And I think they would work as a partnership, wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. Both young English talents coming through. And Kobbie needs someone next to him who can be a workhorse. And that is what Elliot Anderson is. And that's been the annoying thing about having, whether that's Bruno or whether that's Kobbie, someone next to them not doing that shift of being there at all times when we need them, whether that's in defence or in attack. So it is quite concerning that we've not had that, but Elliot Anderson definitely answers all of those problems. And yesterday, like we keep saying, is a perfect example of that. And if I was United in January, I'd be just ringing up Forest saying, let's start something here, maybe. Let's get something in the works.
Well, they might be in a relegation scrap. Well, they are. So we'll see what happens there. You know, saying that it's annoyed me. It annoyed me a little bit going into the Forest game, and it's kind of just going to annoy me after. But what's his face? United Strand. Like, you know how we spoke about it in the build-up to the pod? I was like, I don't particularly think it's his fault. Like, I don't think he went in with the intention of, you know, like riding United's shitness. But doing that Paddy Power advert kind of undermines himself a little bit. And now it's gone back. And then it's kind of so much I was seeing on social after was rival fans saying, oh, here we go again, back to square one. It's just, I'm a bit bored of the gimmick now.
I hear your point. I do, because I think it's almost like, oh, they didn't do it. Oh, they didn't get to 5. Oh, they've let him down again. That side of it, because when you look at the last few weeks, it's 3 wins and a draw. Top stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like we've climbed up the table in that time, but I think now there's that caveat with it of, oh, but they couldn't do 5. Oh, this, and then you saw Nico Williams, right? He referenced it on Twitter when he said something about the trim will have to wait or something like that. So yeah, I do take your point. And obviously there was the whole stuff for Old Trafford, which is never okay, but you can see where some fans also aren't a fan of it. So yeah, I do take your point.
I mean, only 2 teams won 5 games in a row last season. He set the bar up here, and when I see him selling merch as well, I'm a bit like,
is he selling merch now?
It puts me off a little bit. Like, I can see, obviously at first it's like a joke, like you said, Sam. I get it, but I agree with you. After yesterday's game, and I saw it online, it's just something that, especially opposition fans, are using more now. It's sort of like ammunition for them, and for United fans like us, it's just annoying to see from that point of view.
It's really hard. It's 5 in a row. It's really hard. Yeah, it's not easy.
But I'll be honest, I'll be surprised if he cuts his hair this season because I'm not sure we'll win 5 in a row. I don't mean that means that United are going to be shit, but as you say, it's really quite fucking hard to win 5 in a row. There might be a little slip. Like, we've got 3 wins and a draw, and we can go to Spurs now. Imagine that, like Spurs, by the way. And we watch Spurs-Chelsea game because, mate, are Spurs that bad? Like, they were shit.
They're gettable. They are very gettable. I'm looking at that game, licking my lips. Because, you know what it is? I think Thomas Frank's sort of pragmatic approach is one side of it. But also, to be fair to Thomas Frank, the attacking ammunition that he has isn't great. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got Kudos, good player, I like him. Kolo Muani, we still don't really know what he's going to be about in the Premier League. Richarlison, Solanke's injured. Odebear, and do you know what I mean? I'm not massively worried going into that game. So, yeah, and then obviously you saw what happened with Jed Spence and Van de Ven afterwards as well. So there's a little bit of something.
What happened there? I missed that.
Ooh.
I missed that.
Did you?
Yeah.
So as the game ended, Thomas Frank went onto the pitch to go shake players' hands, and Van de Ven and Jed Spence pretty much blatantly aired him and walked right past him. And then as they walked right past him, Jed Spence was kind of like throwing his arms around and kind of like complaining. So there's like I said, something simmering there.
Oh, yes, we like that. Rub your hands together. Come on. Mate, I did not know that. Considering I think they had scored the 3rd most goals in the league going into the game, or they were in 3rd. And I think they'd scored the most goals in the league, and they were 3rd in the league. They were getting booed at full time, man. They had nothing going forward. And to go back to what I was saying there, like, we might not win 5 in a row this season, but if we can go into this last international break with 4 wins and a draw in our last 5 games, fucking hell, that'll be a really nice feeling in that international breakdown. And we do have an opportunity.
Definitely. Spurs have only won once at home in the Premier League this season.
They've had our fucking number, though, for way too long. Like, that's as crap as they've been.
Especially at their place.
Man. Is there anything in the mailbag this week?
Yeah, so we've got one thing in the mailbag from Cheyenne, who's from Pakistan. So he said, what are your opinions on Bruno Fernandes? I get that he is a world-class player and arguably the best player in our team, but he is also 31. And is he blocking a pathway to Kobbie Mainoo into the first team? Should United have cashed in on Bruno this summer?
I didn't think that we should have this summer. And if I'm being completely honest, I think the biggest blocker to Kobbie Mainoo is the fact that we didn't win the Europa League. And it's the fact that we don't have European football. So we're only playing once a week. And I actually think Amorim spoke about that directly after the game. Or was it before the game? He was like, we've got a player of Kobbie's quality, but we can't keep the squad this good, happy, with 1 game a week. It's just not possible. This is the first time in, 10 years there's been no European football, Nick, I think. I didn't want United to sell Bruno, but I feel the succession plan makes sense this summer. I've said that quite a few times. We've now found out that Bruno's got that release clause for 60 mil, which is, let's be honest, fucking bargain. So there might be someone that cashes in on that anyway, even if he doesn't want to go.
For me, it's Bruno Fernandes is already one of my favourite players of all time at United, and I feel like the longer he stays, the higher up he moves on that list. So I've got a lot of time for him. He's just simply too good for us to have let him go this season. I think that would have been a mistake, because even in this position where let's be real, that's not his best position. That's not where you're going to get the best out of him. But he's still doing that sort of quarterback role. And like I said, that's that earlier, 14 passes into the final third. He's getting us going in so many circumstances, even when he is playing out of position. So, echoing what Sam said, I do think that the lack of games is probably the thing that's hindering Kobbie the most. And I think that it will just be a gradual, like you say, he's 31. He's not going to be going forever. So it will just be a gradual passing of the torch to go from Bruno to Kobbie. That's how I hope it goes, as long as Kobbie, doesn't want to end up leaving the club, which we'll come back to in January.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think there's a chance he asked to leave on loan properly. Well, he asked to leave on loan at the end of this summer. We said no. Let's see if anything changes. Dan, what do you think?
I agree with you guys, really. I think that it's only a matter of time before Kobbie has that position, and it's annoying because I would say for him to be patient, but equally I know he wants to be in that World Cup squad, so a loan probably does suit him. But then it just hits us even more. If Bruno did get injured, he's never been injured, but say if he did, who comes in and replaces him?
He won't. He won't. Guy's a psycho. Look, thank you very much for sending that question. And anybody else, if you want to send any questions for the podcast at unitedpeoples.tv. Yeah, we'll be back later on this week. We'll be previewing the Spurs game. We'll be running through all the latest news that happened this week. Dan and Nick, thank you very much for joining in. And if you enjoyed it, please leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple or wherever. Take it easy.